Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, and today we have another daily that goes to Mom. So whenever that happens, we're not too excited, but they're bound to happen, so we just have to do the best that we can to get the highest score as possible. So how do we do that? And especially in a Mom daily, we try to find the secret rooms in the second secret room because they're very important. They can contain runes, and in there you can find Ava's runes, and they allow you to go past the initial objective and just get a lot of points. In here, I decided I might stick with Shoop the Whoop, but just because I've had it already 2 times, I would definitely take Shoop the Whoop over Doctor's Remote in pretty much every situation, but just because I've had it for 2 days now, I think it's not as fun to just play with the same item over and over again, regardless of how powerful it is. And I thought having Doctor's Remote might be pretty good, because I can use its explosive potential to find the potential secret rooms, just in the case that I don't get enough bombs to actually explore it. And I think it did turn out to be a pretty good decision, because I was able to use it quite offensively, as well as quite in the utility-wise. So I was actually able to find some of the secret rooms which I think I wouldn't be able to find otherwise, just because I didn't have any bombs. The biggest thing out of it was that I got, not Dr. Fetus, I used the Doctor's Remote to shoot the Epic Fetus missile for the second secret room here, and then I managed to find Goat Head in it. And because I got hit 5 times on the second floor, no particular reason, just because of the high shot speed and some enemies which maybe bounce around a bit differently are just a bit odd, I just managed to get hit. And of course, if I didn't find Goat Head, I think I would be in a really bad position. And of course, I wouldn't be able to get to the second secret room because I didn't have any bombs when I got to the second floor. So having Doctor's Remote in this situation did turn out to be the right decision. And with Goat Head, I was able then to get the Pentagram and the Pact, and that just allowed me to be much stronger than I initially thought. Of course, I did also take the I'm Excited pill, and then I forgot about it, and maybe not a lot of people realize this, but the I'm Excited pill is actually really easy to play around. You just have to be cautious or wary of when you're actually using it. And essentially, when you use it, on the moment that you use it, that room is going to be sped up until you leave it. So that means if you use it in a room with enemies, it's going to be sped up until you kill all of the enemies in the room. But if you use it in a room that it doesn't have any enemies in it, that means you don't have to worry about it for the next 30 seconds. And what happens from the time that you use it, 30 seconds from now, it's going to trigger again, and it's going to speed out every enemy that's in that current room after the 30 seconds have actually passed. And then it's gonna do that again after 60 seconds, so after the initial time, so 60 seconds after the initial time, or 30 seconds past the second time. So essentially it triggers twice, after 30 seconds and after 60 seconds, and if there are any enemies in the room when it does trigger, you're gonna get them sped up and it's gonna be nasty. So what you just have to be wary, so if you use it at something like the second minute, try not to be in a room with enemies at 2:30 and at the 3rd minute, because those are the times where it will actually trigger. You just have to be aware of it, and whenever you actually use the pill, you have to look at the time and then just make a mental note on where you want to be. So if you feel like you can explore the room in whole, and then just go for it. Don't try to enter a boss room, or in this case, don't enter a challenge room, because if it triggers in a challenge room, you don't only have to deal with 1 wave of enemies, but 3 waves of enemies, and obviously that's much harder. That's just a little friendly tip for you. If you were ever having trouble with I'm Excited pill, that's a really good way to actually get around it. Essentially, knowing how it works can negate its effect entirely. So that was exciting, but this run is actually progressing pretty well. With Dr. Fetus, thankfully, I was able, not Dr. Fetus, but with Doctor's Remote, which shoots the Epic Fetus missile, I was able to actually make it work. But I did come to a very interesting decision here. So I found the sacrifice room, and generally what you would want to do is take this sacrifice room, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get a sacrifice room on the next floor. And just if you're going in the average case, it's going to be much better for your points if you just teleport out of here in this situation. And because our run is already strong enough, we have the perk spill, we could actually afford to do that, and we would be in too bad of a position to actually tackle the dark room. So the propositions were perfect as far as the points go, because we would be able to go to the dark room, we would get instantly something like 10,000 points, and then we would get an additional 4,000. So I figure we would finish something like 25 to 26,000. Obviously, we would lose some points by actually taking damage, but overall, our points would be higher than if you just went to boss rush. But of course, there's always that possibility that you can go to boss rush, do boss rush, teleport out, and then go to the dark room with the sacrifice room. But because there's no guarantee, obviously you can't know that unless maybe you look at the leaderboard, or maybe you look at the threads ahead of time, but this is not what I'm about. So I just figured I'm not gonna take it, even though it might be the optimal play. I felt like I had a really fun run going on. I just wanted to fight some regular enemies. I was kind of banking that there was gonna be something like a sacrifice room on this floor, but even if there wasn't, I can't be too upset. It wasn't that bad. I do enjoy short runs as well, because sometimes they do tend to drag on just a little bit. Playing 50 minutes for a run, which you're not even gonna rank well in, is always discouraging, so I always try to avoid that. But in this case, But because it was regular mom run, I figured the time investment is not that big, so I just might as well go do boss rush and then finish the run if I'm not gonna find any ways to actually go forward. And that's exactly what I did. But looking back at it, I did actually look at the thread and some of the videos that people have posted. There was an AWAS rune in the secret room, and in the exact secret room that I decided not to go to. My thinking was, I had bombs, I knew where the second secret room was, or at least I knew the general location, I knew it was connected to one of those tall rooms. And I thought, I can go back and just use it, but I don't want to do it, because why would I? It's not like there's a high chance that I'm gonna get an AWAS rune out of it. Usually, because if I did go back, I would just place the bomb down and I would find something like cards in there and it would be totally useless. But in this particular case, it did turn out that there was actually an AWAS rune in there, and I just missed it because of my laziness to go back and explore the rest of the floor, even though I knew where that second secret room was. So it's not like it would take me a lot more time, and because Mama Mega showed up later, we weren't pressed for time at all, so we could have done full exploration. Of course, we didn't know that earlier on, but the later on that comes, it was just a weird situation, and I hate it when that happens, because it always seems so fortunate to me, and it's always that diligent process where you try to go to every single room so you can maximize your chances of actually finding an AWAS rune, and I just say, I'll just skip this one, so just this one out of the last 100 that I've visited, and that particular one just happens to be the one that actually contains the AWAS rune. That is a bit unfortunate, but then again, it's completely my mistake. I should have definitely gone back and got it and just use it later, and I think that would have led me to a better spot. Still, I can't be too upset. I did finish in the 80th place, which is something like top 50, and of course by the end of the day I'll probably be in the top 200s, and that's just the thing with these dailies with Mom. If you don't find a way forward, someone is bound to, just because of the variance and how different the run can be. They're just gonna get an additional 15,000 points that you really can't catch up with, and you're just gonna be left in a position. The only thing you can hope for at this point is that the tomorrow's daily will be a little bit better and a little bit more fair in some regards. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.